Hi everyone, Kelly here with the Siren and the Pirate, Jewelry for the Adventure, and today's tutorial I am teaching you how to do what I've heard as called a 6-1 weave. I've also heard it called a ladder weave. I normally refer to it as a 6-1. It's not a sumac weave. I'll save that for another day. But we're gonna start off with this. I really love this weave, particularly for layering pieces. So I like to do this 6-1 weave, and I'm going to grab a piece just to give you an example. I love to be able to layer other weaves over the top of this. It's a thick weave and it's very dense, so it gives you a really nice layering look. So you will need 6 base wires and your weaving wire, so you can choose the gauge. Of course, today, if you're curious, I'm using 20 gauge for the base wires and 28 gauge for the weaving wire. So let's go ahead and get started with this weave. Now, if you're a beginner and you haven't worked with this many wires before, it can be a little bit tricky. Don't worry, you get better at it, but it can be a lot to handle. Let's say you cut all of these and you try to pick them up and go right into the weave. I'm going to give you a little tip on how to get this started so that it's not so hard to hang on to everything. Now, I know there are tools out there like clamps and things that I've seen people use when they're working with a lot of base wires, that you kind of like either clamp them on the end or insert them, into something that holds them in place, and then you can do your weaving. So by all means, there are tools out there for you if you're really struggling with that. I've never used any of those tools, so I've kind of developed my own way of getting this going a little bit more easy, not having to use those. So what I'm going to have you do is pick up your first wire. So we're going to number these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 from bottom to top, and we're going to use our weaving wire. And you always want to start with a little tail. The tail allows your fingers to hold on to something and get the weave started, and then later on you will go in and trim that off. So you don't want to trim it off too soon, just leave it on there and we'll come back to it when you're finished with the weave and trim it off. So we're going to get the weaving wire attached to that first base wire just by coiling around twice, just to make sure it's secure. And then I'll grab my next base wire, place it on top. From bottom to top, we have wire 1, wire 2. And this is called a 6-1 weave. I'm referring to 6 base wires and 1 coil around each of the wires. So I'm going to bring my weaving wire up and completely around wire number 2, push it all the way in and up. And then I'm going to grab base wire number 3, put that on top, go up and completely around number 3 by going between wires 2 and 3. We want to try to keep our base wires spaced evenly. And now we're ready for base wire number 4. So this just allows you to get them all connected together without, having to try to hold all 6 wires at one time, because once you get the wire, like a few weaves done, it's so much easier to hang on to, but it can be very tricky at the beginning. Now I'm going all the way around base wire number 4 and so forth. Now you don't have to use 6 base wires. You can do this weave with less. I just typically use 6 for my design purposes. All the way around number 5. You can see we're going up the ladder. And now this is the difference. So whether you have 5 wires or 6 wires or 4 wires, your top wire, whatever that be, in this case it's going to be number 6. We are not going to go all the way around this wire. Instead, we're going to go up and over and down. because we are now reversing directions and going down the ladder. So to do that, you've gone down and behind number 6 and number 5 wire. You're going to go between wires 4 and 5, coming out the front here. Sorry, get that in focus. And then up and between wires 5 and 6. So now we're going back down the ladder around each of the base wires again. From here, let me spread these out here. We're going to go between wires 5 and 4. Oh no, I'm sorry, 3 and 4. All the way in and up and between wires 4 and 5 to go all the way around wire number 4. Now we're going to go around wire number 3 by going between 2 and 3, up and around 3, down, and now one more full coil around number 2. So we go between 1 and 2 and up and around 2. And then down. Now we're at the beginning. This one's going to be different than the starting. The starting one, we just had those first coils to connect and then we started to go up. But now here, if you want to do this continuously, you're going to have to do the same thing at the bottom as you did on the top. So we don't go all the way around number 1, we go up, and then between 2 and 3, so that we can go all the way around number 2. So I go between wires 1 and 2 and all the way in and up. So that top one and the bottom one, it's not going to have a full coil around that base wire. Now after every rotation, so I'm counting that as one rotation, going up the ladder and back down, one rotation, you will probably end up with this kind of triangle look with the space at the bottom. You want to make sure with all of your weaves you do, compress everything. So you use your fingers, your fingernails, push everything together, especially if you're following along with a tutorial or a PDF tutorial, because those designs are based on making sure that the weaves stay nice and compressed. So if you want to get through those successful, you need to make sure that your weaves are straight and aligned and compressed together so you can get through the number of rotations that the tutorial calls for. So let's go ahead and continue on. We'll go up and back down the ladder again. So we've gone around the first wire, now we're going to go between 2 and 3, all the way around wire number 2 and up, and then between 3 and 4, going all the way around 3, and then between 5 and 6, all the way around number 5, and then we're at the top again. We're going to go just over the top and down the back side between wires 4 and 5. And then we're going up and around 5 and down. Between 3 and 4, up and over 4. Down between 2 and 3. Sorry, stay in focus here. Up and over wire 3, down between 1 and 2, up and around number 2. And then of course we are going to squish. Always squishing. There we go. So then as you go, you have this very nice tight ladder 6-1 weave. Another tip while doing this weave, of course with this tutorial I'm not working with a lengthy base wires. You know, they're not very long, they're short, just so I can do it on camera here. But if I'm doing a project, I've normally got lots of these wires over here and they easily get twisted. So over here on the side, just to make your life easier, once you get a few weaves going here, you don't have to worry so much about this side. You can just hang on to it. But over on this side, you do want to make sure that periodically you keep these spaced out, because I don't know how many times I've gone cross-eyed trying to see over on the side which wire is which. You do get better at it with time, but just periodically make sure these are spaced out, but that they don't get spaced out over here on this side. You want your wires, even if they're spaced out over here so that you can easily tell which is which, over here you want the wires to all be equally spaced apart. So just keep that in mind as you go. If you're doing a tutorial or something, and because what do I want to say? I want to say check often too. So like if this was the first weave you were asked to do in a tutorial, and it said like, oh, start 1 inch from the left. Well, as you get everything going, it tends to shift around. You'll notice over here I already adjusted things, but like some are longer than the others, and then I pushed them in. So you can still adjust where this weave is at this point. It's still easy to move around, or I could pull one wire out and pull them all individually. Because if you're having trouble with the tutorial and it asked you to start from 1 inch from the side, but then your weave shifted, you may run out of wires or have too much left over or something as you move forward. So those are just some tips for getting through this weave. I love this one. I think you should practice even if you're just starting off, because you can do a lot of really cool things with this one. I have to insert one more thing. Sorry, I filmed everything after this and then realized I forgot to tell you this one thing. Always good practice to end any weaving pattern around a single coil. So if I wanted to be done with this pattern, I would go, well, it depends on what you're doing, but like let's say I wanted to end here, I want to make sure that my last weave, I would go ahead and wrap it all the way around that bottom wire once or twice, whatever you need, just to secure it. Because when you end your weaves around a single coil, the single coil are much tighter around one of the base wires instead of going up and over 2 or 3 of them. So it kind of acts as a stopper and prevents your weave from either like spreading out or coming uncoiled. So when you're ready to finish, coil around one wire, and then you're free to trim your wires off unless you're gonna do something else. That's all. If you are looking for a way to practice this weave and put it into a simple design, today I'm also filming another tutorial for my Galaxy pendant. So I will be putting a link to that in the description because I will be releasing this video before that one. But they'll be close together. So maybe by the time you watch it, I'll have already released that. The link for the Galaxy pendant should be in the description. And then I also have just started a Patreon page. So if you like my tutorials, it's a great way to help support me in keeping my tutorials free on YouTube. Through the Patreon community, I am really excited to start offering some more intermediate type of lessons, and one of my goals was to do a PDF tutorial. So I'm very happy to say that I did my first PDF tutorial. This is the pendant. It's called Amphitrite. There we go. Someone else named it for me. I took a poll on Instagram because it reminded them of the sea goddess, Poseidon's wife. So this is available free as a free PDF download to all of my new and existing Patreons. I will put a link to that below. We would love to have you join the community. We have a private Facebook group where we can share collaboration projects, and I will offer some exclusive downloads and tutorials and stuff like that. So you can check that out in the link below. And I'd also like you to know that I offer all of my weaving tutorials as a free PDF download. I'll be working on that with my website. If you go to www.thesirenandthepirate.com, in the menu you can go to the Learn How to Wire Weave, and then it should have a pull down menu and it will say PDFs, and I'll be putting all of the free PDFs for download there. Eventually I will be offering my designs as downloads as well for purchase, but I'm not quite there yet. But I will be offering just at least the weaving PDF tutorials as a free download, so you can always go and check that out. I think right now I have 3 available. I have this 6-1 weave, I have this 2-2 weave, and the 3-3 weave available, all of the ones that you would need in order to do this, this particular design. All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Happy weaving. Bye.